I think I'm really funny, but not everybody else does. For example, I was at work and my boss was talking to me about recovery. And anyway, back and forth, yada, yada, yada. And I said, I don't drink like other people. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, if I could drink like normal people, I would be drinking right now. He did not think that was funny at all. It was 7 a.m. Anyway. So I grew up here in Utah County. I was raised in an LDS church. I come from a mostly normal, loving family. I have some siblings that suffer with the same thing that I assume everybody in this room does too. I know there's a rehab here, so you guys might not be alcoholics and drug addicts, but the rest of us. Something happened when I was probably 7 or 8, and my thinking changed. I saw the world differently. I felt different than everybody else. I felt really alone, really. Not really a feeling of loneliness, just kind of isolated. When I came of drinking age, which for me was 12, I started. That was 1990. In 1991, I went to my first AA meeting. So it took hold of me at a pretty young age, pretty quickly. I liked it quite a bit. I liked it. It did exactly what I wanted it to do in the amount of time that I wanted it to do it. It was really effective for what I needed it to be. Anyway, needless to say, I have not been sober for 35 years. That first AA meeting didn't take. I went to a program. My parents put me in a program when I was 14 years old because I was totally out of control. And I stayed in that program until I was 18 years old. When I got out of that program, I commenced to pick up right where I left off. So I was drinking, but now there were way more drugs available and all that kind of stuff. And so the party was on, and it was a party, and I was having fun. And there weren't a huge amount of consequences. It was a party. I was, 19, 20, 21, and it was all good. I got locked up a few times. When the last time I went to jail before I got sober, that's another part of my story. It was like for a year, and so when I got out, I was like, well, I'm only going to be drinking, which also didn't take, but I thought it was a good idea at the time. Over the years, drugs became less a part of my story. That's not to say that I, didn't. It just kind of faded away into the background a little bit. Drinking was legal as long as you didn't, urinate in public or drive. So I had a family. I got married, and I thought things were pretty good. I was content. Sort of funny. I think in retrospect, I chose to get married to a person that I thought would not nag me about my drinking. She's not from the United States. It took a while, but eventually she did. I also elected to start a career where I didn't think that my coworkers would nag me about my drinking. I'm still in that career, but things might obviously, like as we know, my drinking progressed, and it progressed really severely when things got really tough. So when my wife wanted a divorce, I was like, what? I can't believe this. What? And in retrospect, again, like, it's pretty obvious. I'm pretty sure she gave me some ultimatums. I don't remember. So we got divorced. I moved to Oregon. I got sober for about 18 months, not in recovery or anything, just sober. There was a day that I was coming back to Utah to visit my son. And my flight got delayed for about 20 minutes. That's enough, right? That's enough time. 20 minutes. That's all. Do I even need 20 minutes? And I remember the moment, and I remember I was walking in the airport, and there was a bar. And I don't remember thinking about the consequences of my drinking, or what might happen if I do pick up, or if I pick up the first drink, am I going to be able to not drink a million drinks? I just turned left, and I ordered a drink and drank it, and it was on. Yeah, it was on. I got back to Utah, and I rented a car, and the first place I went to was to the liquor store, and I went to my old drinking buddy's house, and this entire time my son is in the car with me. I got really lucky. Nothing, I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't get arrested. But that memory is vivid in my mind, because when I got to AA and started reading about it, I went, that's exactly what happened to me. The first drink set it off, and after that, nothing else mattered. Anyway, I went back to Oregon. I lost my job, because guess what? Oregon has these really lenient unemployment laws, and so I was on unemployment for a year. Yeah, that was not good. It was not good for somebody like me. I drank a lot. I got sick a lot. I don't know about you guys, but I have when I drink, I have a physical reliance on alcohol, meaning that if I don't drink, I go through pretty severe withdrawal. I've had probably 100 grand mal seizures. I bit my tongue off a couple times. I had to stitch it back together, and and so I have to stay drunk, right? This is good enough reason for me. By the time that year had come to an end, I was like on a different planet. I finally got a DUI. I don't know how it took so long, but I finally got a DUI. And I remember I got pulled over because my registration was expired. I was on my way to the liquor store, which was the most upsetting part about me getting pulled over. And I got out of the car, and he started doing the field sobriety test, and I was like, look, I'm not going to pass this. Like, I don't, yeah. He's like, okay. He's like, did you notice that you're wearing 2 different shoes on your feet? I was like, no, I sure didn't. Anyway, that's it. I'm glad that it sounds familiar. I wouldn't. If it didn't, I would feel like I was bearing my testimony or something. So it got bad and it got worse, and I came back to Utah and I tried really hard to be sober. I didn't have anywhere to go, so I called my mom. I was like, hey, can I come stay with you? I'm trying really hard to be sober. And she was like, yes, you can sleep in the shed outside. And I did. But she's still my mom. And so after like a week, she was like, all right, fine, come inside. I really did try to keep my drinking in check. I really wanted to. I knew that, like, I've never been confused about me being an alcoholic. I've always known that I was an alcoholic. That since probably, since I don't know, 10 years old. So I started drinking when I was 12. I knew I was going to drink before I drank. I couldn't wait. I was like, look at these dudes on TV. Look at they're grown up. They're, they carry guns. Like, I guess that's what I'm going to do. So I was never under any illusion about whether I had a drinking problem or whether I was quote unquote an alcoholic. I didn't know what an alcoholic was according to the big book yet, but I knew that I was that person. I thought I was choosing to be an alcoholic. I thought I was electing to live that lifestyle. But when I came back to Utah, I was trying really hard to at least keep it in check. And I was like, well, I'm just going to drink sometimes, which is every day for me. Sometimes is every day, not all day. And there's a lot of story to tell. I started working again. Before that, some people who know me have noticed that one of my legs is an inch shorter than the other one. Some people who do not know me, like people that are checking out in the grocery store, also notice this thing. It's true. So before I was at my mom's house drinking, and I was drunk, and I went out on the back porch, which was like six concrete stairs that go down to a concrete patio, and I'm standing up on the top, and I'm smoking a cigarette. Now, to the majority of the world, I have this story about motorcycles, and that's how my leg got the way it is, because this is so embarrassing that I don't like telling normal people what actually happened. You people are not normal, by the way, just in case you were confused. So I was drunk, and I fell down the stairs, and I broke my leg. I broke it bad. Like, I split my tibia vertically from my ankle to my knee. And, but I was trying to, like, crawl up the stairs because I was wasted. I don't know, like, whatever, I don't know. And my roommate came out and helped me up, and he was like, hey, I feel like we should go to the hospital. And I'm like, no, it's fine. Just put me on the couch and I'll sleep it off. I woke up in the morning with compartment syndrome. If you don't know what that is, it's when the small capillaries don't let the blood flow out of your limb, but you have the main blood vessels pumping into your limb. And so my leg was like 3 times what it normally was. Kind of like RJ's legs. He goes to the gym and stuff, I don't. So I had to go to the hospital, right? And they pinned it all back together, and there's plates, and they drained the blood out of my leg, and the doctor in the hospital said, "I want to cut your leg off. I want to amputate." And I said, "No. It's my leg." He said, "One day you'll regret that choice," but okay. And so anyway, I haven't come to that day yet, but I do remember that. After that, people didn't want to like give me a ride to the liquor store and stuff, especially like my family members, sticklers, you know, real sticklers. But they gave me buckets full of Percocet. I mean, just like as much as I could handle. And I'm not an opioid user, but man, I became one real fast. Real fast I became one. Because they wouldn't take me to the liquor store. That was their fault. So here's the funny part of this story. I was all loaded on Percocet, and I went out to the back porch to smoke a cigarette. Yeah, you guys don't know yet. I fell, and I broke my leg. This time I didn't break below my knee, I broke my femur. But I had crutches, and I had buckets full of Percocet. So I walked around on a leg with all the stuff from the initial break and a broken femur for about 30 days. It didn't hurt that bad. Opioids, also very effective, I gotta say. Finally, it bugged me bad enough that they took some x-rays, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, this is broken." I don't know if you guys know this, but x-ray technicians are not supposed to actually diagnose you with anything. They're technicians. They take pictures, and they let the doctor do that kind of stuff. This dude was like, "Yeah, yeah, it's broken." I'm like, "All right." He's like, "Yeah, it's even started to heal a little bit." So yeah, they had to break it again. So that's 3. Yeah. My name's Robert. I am an alcoholic. Yeah, thank you. Surprised Michael's not here to affirm that I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, you are. Yeah. So I went back to work. My leg healed. I was closet drinking, but keeping it under control. I was. My definition of keeping it under control is much different than not just normal people, but most of the people I know. I will drink rubbing alcohol. I will drink mouthwash. I will drink hand sanitizer. I don't care. If I need alcohol in me, I will get it in me. But at this point, I had a job, so I was drinking, I don't think it was Popov, it was Rothschild or something equally horrible. So I had this bright idea that I was going to move out, and I was going to move into a motel. That was a good idea. Just in case you decide that you're going to move into a motel, I think that's a bad idea. It never seems to work out. That was in December of 2016. I got sober February 6th of 2017, so 2 months later. I don't remember from the time that I checked into the motel to the time that I was arrested for a DUI. That was quite literally, I have no memory of it. All my belongings were at that motel, and me and my little brother went back a few months later to find that motel. We couldn't find it. Somewhere in West Valley. That's what I know. That's as close as I got. I literally, it was a complete, I was gone. Needless to say, I quit my job. I was so out of my mind that I was at my mom's house, and I was hallucinating. I was talking to inanimate objects. I was kicking the cat. My mom doesn't have a cat. I was completely out of my mind. When I was a teenager, I had an IQ test, and the IQ test, they said you're an above average intelligence. That could have been 1 point or half a point above average intelligence, but because I am who I am, that automatically made me a genius. And I carried that through my whole life, basically. And but it was such a frightening thing because I had hit lots of bottoms. I had gotten my life into a shitstorm dozens of times, dozens. And those should have been good enough. But for whatever reason, that last time when I lost all mental faculty, I was gone. I was on a different planet. That was it. For whatever reason. I don't know why. I still don't know why, but that was it. I agreed to go to treatment, and I wasn't going to go to no treatment center that didn't allow me to smoke cigarettes, so it took a minute. This is the Utah Indoor Clean Air Act and all that kind of stuff. So I was in treatment up in Spanish Fort Canyon, so it was far enough away that I couldn't walk, because guess what? I had a broken fucking leg. I couldn't make it down the mountain, even if I wanted to. My family members weren't going to come pick me up. Inconsiderate, right? There was this group of dudes that came to Mountain Peak Recovery. They're out of business now, but and Brantley was there, and Ian was there, and Diego was there. And I was like, dude, these guys have it going on. Not really. Not really. But enough. I asked Ian to be my sponsor, and he agreed. and we worked the 12 steps. And I got out of rehab, basically, and then we worked the 12 steps. And I worked the 12 steps very quickly. I think we got done in less than 6 weeks. I was terrified. I was terrified to go back out. I knew and still know today that I don't think I would survive another relapse. I meet people in AA and they're like, oh yeah, I had a relapse. And I was like, I saw you last week. And they're like, yeah, it was a relapse over the weekend. I'm like, what the fuck is a relapse over the weekend? I have a relapse for 10 years. I have a relapse over the weekend. Slip, I think, is what they call those. I don't have slips. I do, don't I? I do, though, don't I? 3 times. So I came to AA with all the willingness that there was. I did not have honesty, and I did not have open-mindedness, but I had willingness. So I got involved in service in AA really quickly. They trapped me, they tricked me, and they trapped me. I didn't know any better. They took advantage of me. There's another building in Orem that does AA stuff, a lot of it, all day. And they asked me to be the chairperson of that group, of all of it. They tricked me. But admittedly, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be like important, you know? It's true. I was very important in the ranks of Alcoholics Anonymous. Being important in AA is kind of like, there's a million euphemisms, right? It's not that important. But I got a lot of recovery. I couldn't work, so I spent all my time in that building. I got sober at the Palace, and I love that community for that. There was so much to do in AA, and there were so many things to cover, and I wanted all of it. There were guys that I respected that would come around and talk about things like peace of mind. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. I don't know what that looks like. I can't even imagine. I know what the term or the phrase is, but I don't know what that looks like. I've never experienced it. But I wanted it because my life was out of control. It was terrible. I started sponsoring guys, and some of them actually stuck with the program. Hugo's here. He's like my long-standing sponsee, and not anymore, but yeah. He got too mature for me, I think. But sponsoring dudes opened up a whole new branch of recovery. Because initially it's all about me, right? And I, me, and I want to get to step 6 and 7 so that I can get rid of all my character defects. They didn't go away. I wanted them to go away, but they did not go away. Because I like lots of them quite a bit. I thought I wanted them to go away, but then I kept liking them. There were some fundamental principles that I picked up in AA that I assumed or adopted as truth. And I didn't, for some reason, I don't know why, I didn't question them. I just went, okay, that's the truth. There were lots of things in AA that I questioned. There were things in our literature that I questioned. There were people that I judged. There were, I did a lot of things wrong in AA. I really did. I didn't drink, and I didn't get any more Percocet, so that's good. I didn't use any other mind or mood altering substances besides coffee by the gallon. But I assumed these things were true because I saw people who were practicing them and they seemed to be doing better than me. And so I wanted to do better, similar to how they were doing better. That doesn't necessarily mean that I wanted their life. It just meant that I go, it's kind of, I don't know, if you guys stick around for a while, you'll hear guys say things like, man, when I got out of prison and I was in recovery, I didn't go back to prison. Like, duh, motherfucker. If you don't commit crimes, you don't go back to prison. Anyway, it's kind of like that in AA. People are like, man, I got sober and I got a job. Like, yeah, that's kind of one of the things that happens. I mean, like, if you got bills to pay and stuff, it's usually the thing, I guess, maybe, for some people. Some of those things just occur as a result of, kind of doing the best you can do, staying sober and, I don't know, whatever, attempting to live the basic principles of this program. In my life, I have practiced dishonesty and manipulation to the lowest and darkest of levels. And because of that, I had to make a decision to be really strict about it in my own life now. And so I say really stupid things, like halfway through a story, I'll be like, let me back up. Like, why? I'm like, I don't want to explain why I have to back up. I'm just going to tell you a different version of the same story. One that doesn't have to do with awesomeness. The open-mindedness was hard for me to grasp. I had a real issue with the higher power thing when I got to AA. I really did. I didn't want it. I didn't like it. I was resentful. And I didn't think that I could do AA because of it. I don't know what happened other than if you refer to the second appendix in the big book, it sort of explains the educational variety. It took time. Today I have a relationship with a higher power. He thinks I'm funny. It's weird, and it's not the relationship that I grew up with, but I talk to it all the time, 1,000,000 times a day. I pray a lot. I say the third step prayer all the time, every day, because I forget. Most of the time, when my life becomes, when I'm restless, irritable, and discontent, it's as a result of me thinking that I know what's best. Which is kind of ironic, because if you know me, you know I'm kind of, I got issues with control. And so that means that a lot of my time is spent restless, irritable, and discontent. But I'm aware of it. I think that there have been so many spiritually enlightening incidents in my life since AA. One of the things, a couple years ago, I realized that I had friends. And not just like 1 or 2 friends, like 10. And people like me don't really have that. When I was drinking, I was not very friendly, but even then, I was not trustworthy, I was not loyal, I didn't have friendship qualities. So yeah, it was an amazing thing to me to realize that I had friends. There was another incident where, oh man, I just completely lost my train of thought. It was maybe 6 months into sobriety. It was one day I realized that it had been probably 30 days since I'd even considered drinking. And that was shocking. Like, I don't even know. Like, at the moment in that time, I was like, I think these people have brainwashed me. I'm getting paranoid. I'm getting a little suspicious. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm pretty sure it's been close to 30 days since I've even considered putting alcohol in my body. I am super neurotic. Some people are not. I am the R ones. I overthink everything. I'm pretty sure I overthink everything. Yeah. I think that people who are not neurotic have sort of an easier time with AA. They have an easier time being open-minded, and they're less suspicious, and it just seems to be. Hans is over there laughing. He's like, oh yeah. Anyway, it seems to go a little smoother for them. It seems to, but I have no real experience with it, so I don't know. But my point being is, my neurosis hasn't done anything for me in AA. It hasn't brought me to a more spiritual level. It hasn't made my relationship with God any closer. It hasn't accomplished anything for me. Overthinking everything and having to study through it and wanting to see the results before I committed the action and all this stuff never got me anything. I can tell you that what has gotten me the best results Faith. Faith. I'm not sure how that works. I heard a speaker talk about talking about, he also neurotic, so it made sense to me. But he's talking about, the reason that we call it, the gift of desperation, and we need to hit rock bottom and all that stuff, is because at that point we're so vulnerable that is truth, that is honesty, we're so broken we don't have anything left. We're not trying to pretend to be anything else, and that is why a lot of times that works out for people like us, is because we're so raw. And so I learned through pain. I learned through doing stuff wrong. I learned through making mistakes. Every single step is vital as far as I'm concerned. I recommend doing them in order. It's hard to work step 12 if you don't know how to do the other stuff. For me, initially, step four was a checklist. I'm just being honest with you. It wasn't very thoughtful. It wasn't very sincere, but I knew what I had done. It wasn't hard for me to figure it out. I knew all the stuff, and so it was fairly simple for me to do a step four. But I forgot lots of stuff. I don't think I intentionally left anything out, but maybe. But I forgot lots of stuff. That particular tool is so important to me. It's something I have to use every day. I have to be able to be accountable for my actions. I have to be able to see where my actions, the end result was also my resentment. I have to see why, when I'm in fear of something, the only real response to that is the cultivation of more faith. That doesn't mean it's easy. If you're new, AA is very simple. It's not complicated. You can read them right there. Simple and easy are not the same thing. So it's very simple. It's not particularly easy. If you're like me, then you're going to want to get comfortable and slide back into the old way. And I like the old way. I don't want to drink unless I can drink like normal people, but which is 7 o'clock in the morning all day, every day. But the behaviors that I exhibit in relationships and spirituality, I will slip back into that without an inventory. My recovery program is of the utmost importance to me, meaning it has to come before all the other things that I think are equally important. My girlfriend's here, and she's very important to me. But if I don't have at least some sanity, which I've found in AA, then she's probably going to leave. She's normal. What that means is she will drink like one drink and be good. She'll be like, I'm starting to feel it. I'm like, yeah, and you're just going to stop now. That's weird. Why did you have the first one if you're, anyway. I try not to interrogate it too much. She's also fairly like sane. Like she's sane enough that I'm kind of suspicious of her. You know, like, what are you trying to hide? I don't think she's actually trying to hide anything. I think she's just kind of sane. In my experience as a drinking alcoholic and recreational drug user, I have a lot of experience dating broken women. That's who I'm. You know, if we're both broken, then if 50% of the negativity is on you, it never really worked out that way, but I'm grateful that she's in my life. I really am, because she helps me maintain sanity. I have a job, like I said, the same career that I chose in 2000, so 24 years. And I really like it. The problem with jobs is that there are other people there. Usually, I don't know. After COVID, there's like lots of people that like have jobs where they stay at home and shit. I don't have that. So there's a new set of challenges when you get a job sober, because there's people, and that means there are relationships to maintain, and it's hard. It's hard. Relationships is hard. As Tony would say, this is a disease of relationships, and I believe that 100%. I believe that without even hesitating. And when he first said it, I was like, nah, it's a disease of drinking. It's not. It's not a disease of drinking or getting high. It's a disease of selfishness and self-centeredness. It's a disease of the inability to grow up. It's a disease of relationships. It's a disease of delusion. It's a disease of immaturity. I said immaturity, irresponsibility. I have a really hard time being accountable for my actions. That means that I don't want to. I am accountable for my actions, but I don't want to. I don't like it. I don't like making amends. So I just try not to do things that make it so I have to make amends. That wasn't super neurotic, by the way. That just seemed pretty straightforward, It's like, if you don't do some stuff, then you don't have to make amends. Okay. I have a home group. I have a sponsor, and my sponsor has a sponsor, and my sponsor's sponsor has a sponsor, and all three of them are in this room. I'm grateful for the tradition of sponsorship. I believe in sponsorship. I know for a fact that I would not be here if it weren't for good sponsorship. I think that's my story. Let me think about it. Yeah, that's it. All right.